Back in November 2007, I just left the offices of the Thurrock Gazette where I was working, driving up here to go to another job. As I came up here on the Orsett Road, I could see a group of people standing over somebody on the side of the pavement there. I guess whether for right or wrong as a journalist, my first instinct is to do what I'm doing now, is to turn left, park nearby, and find out what's happening. A 67-year-old gentleman called John Sparks had collapsed. He'd walked from near the Thameside Theatre up this road, as he often did, to his home near in Rectory Road, but he only got here and he collapsed. Walking up the road at the same time were a couple of 17-year-olds. One had just finished a first aid course, and so having seen a man collapsed, thought she could help, whilst her other colleague went across to the doctor's surgery, which is just over there, hoping that the doctor would come out and help out. In the meantime, an ambulance had been called, and actually somebody with an NHS badge was also there to oversee. The 17-year-old dashed into here, into the Prime Care Family Medical Centre, which is a one-doctor practice, Dr. S.S. Sidana. He went into the reception. We understand that he apprised the receptionist of the circumstances. They said that a man collapsed outside, an ambulance had been called. She rang Dr. Sidana, we understand, but then she received a reply that he was busy with patients and would not be coming out. The 17-year-old ran over, as his colleague is still continuing the CPR, and other people had gathered around to see if they could help. He told them, the doctor's not coming out. I was there at that time, at that stage, and another member of the public, we went back over to see if that really was the case. I went back in, and the receptionist again, she held the phone up, as if to say, don't shoot the messenger, and said, I'm sorry, he says, it's not looking good for Mr. Sparks. But this time the ambulance had arrived, so the paramedics were able to take over from a clearly distraught 17-year-old girl who had tried her best, and other members of the public who had also tried to do what they could do. With the ambulance arriving, it had blocked off the road, so a traffic warden, or a parking enforcement officer had attended. But after a couple of minutes, to add to sort of the situation, her headquarters rang her, contacted her and said, you're neither insured nor trained to do this type of thing. So her boss actually turned up, picked her up and took her away. That's just a by-the-by, I guess, and I guess that's just the rules, but it sort of added to the situation. John Sparks, 67, retired antiques dealer, known in the Tilbury area, known throughout this area. He died. It's quite a distraught scene, I can tell you. I think the girl, the 17-year-old, really did feel, I should have done more, I should have done more. The people around were very, very angry with the doctor. But whether it was right or wrong, it's something that had to be discussed, it had to be passed. We're very, very angry. After the funeral, they'd contacted the PCT and requested an inquiry. The Sparks family opinion was very much they didn't expect the doctor to come out in Superman suit and save a life. They probably knew the situation was pretty grim. But all they were looking for, in their opinion, was for a doctor to come out and give some form of assurance. Now we've been trying to get to the bottom of this. Naturally, the authorities have their systems. We've got the PCT inquiry. The General Medical Council may well be having an inquiry, may well be having what you call a fitness to practice inquiry. But initially, a couple of days after the death of Mr. Sparks, we came to the surgery to look for an interview. I said this is back in November of 2007. Dr. Sidana would not come out. His manager requested us to leave. And our question was, more on a general scale of things, is a surgery like this equipped for an emergency, whether within or without? Or was this a situation where they weren't equipped? They weren't equipped in many, many ways for an emergency, and that things need to be put in place. I mean, one of our concerns, in fact one of our last questions before we were asked to leave the surgery in respect of an emergency was, if you look very closely here, the hospital has the number of, sorry, not the hospital, the Prime Care Family Medical Centre have the number 01375, etc., but they have their emergency number. And if you see their emergency, it's been now Tipexed out after I'd pointed it out, and it does say 0181. which I believe ONET1 numbers went out about 8 years ago. So if they're out of date in that number, the question was, what else are the factors first? There has been a PCT inquiry. It started in December. They interviewed various witnesses in respect of what happened. A letter was sent to Richard and Polly Sparks a couple of weeks ago, which was the result of their inquiry, which took something like 9 months. And it was a short letter. And what has concerned the Sparks is that it's very much this basic lessons learned, systems in place letter. You know, those terms are quote unquote. And what the Sparks want to know is, what does that mean? Lessons learned, systems in place. Again, they're not people expecting, you know, they know the law of the land, they know the way things work. They're not expecting an admission, an apology, or anything like that. But what they really want to see is, what does that mean? Now, we've contacted the PCT, contacted the press spokesman, Ruth Osborne, and asked her if we could have a comment, if we could have an interview with the relevant people. You know, and we gave a deadline of Friday, close of play, so to speak. And here we are on Saturday, no response. You know, Dr. Sardana could well say and establish if he was busy with patients and he has a responsibility. You know, if he had a patient with an ingrown toenail in there, he got this news, dashed out, the patient stood up, felt lightheaded, hit their head against something and died, then I'm sure that patient, their family, and probably everybody who's watching this will say, yeah, I would have sued the doctor for abandoning his post or any other relevant charge. At the same time, did he have a responsibility to come out? Is there the Hippocratic Oath? If he was completely within his rights to do what he did, shouldn't we be saying to every school, education establishment, you've got those citizenship courses, rip them up and start teaching contract law, because that is the realpolitik, the reality of life today. But then again, maybe with the glass half empty and the glass half full, we should focus on, and we're looking at your Thurrock and what positive outcomes in the borough, the Good Samaritans. Not only the young couple that tried to save Mr. Sparks' life, but also the people that stood round and tried to help in all sorts of ways. And maybe that's what we should focus on, that in this world in which we see everybody as rude and not willing to have a go, and maybe what was the good thing about it, that we did have a go heroes, so to speak, on this particular occasion. This will run and run. We'll see what the PCT have to say about lessons learnt and systems in place. And there may well be something from the General Medical Council. But it is an issue that needs to be debated, and we feel this is the forum to debate it.